Good evening and welcome to the program. This is What's Your Story? My name is Catherine Mwangi, here tonight at the residence of Finland's ambassador to Kenya, His Excellency Pirkka Tapiola. Today we have the added bonus of also having a conversation with his wife, Madam Olga Tapiola. First, we have done here on What's Your Story where a couple at diplomatic level are having a conversation with us. I'm looking forward to that because, as you know by now, if you're a follower of this program, I'm a hopeless romantic. So I'll be looking forward to know what their relationship is about. But first, we get to know about Ambassador Pirkka Tapiola. So come with me, let's get the show started. Your Excellency, thank you so much for inviting us to your residence.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Great
I'm
to have
looking
you
forward
here.
to your story. Thank you so much. And
Well,
also,
I'm looking forward to our discussion.
and also one with your wife, eh?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm a hopeless romantic, so I love
Okay.
love stories.
So am I, actually.
Oh, is
I hope
it?
it's romantic. Yeah.
So shall we?
Let's.
Okay.
Please, after you.
Thank you. But for now, we welcome you to the show, Ambassador Pirkka Tapiola.
That's correct.
Yes. You see, I took a second there.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank you so much for giving us a chance to, share your story. We are so privileged to be in your beautiful residence.
thank you.
You're known as the happiest country in the world.
Absolutely.
How is that possible?
I think that it's the contentment,
Oh.
which I would say is the happiness, because many joke that we Finns, when you look at us, we look very serious and so on.
Yeah.
So how are these people the happiest people?
Yeah.
They're happy because they're content. They have a society which works for them and which delivers to them.
I like
And
that.
I think that that's what happiness is about.
I like that. So you've been ranked the world's happiest nation for how many
Indeed.
years now?
I think this was the 6th time in a row or something like that.
Ooh, so contentment. I love.
Contentment, yes.
Yeah, I love that level of depth.
Indeed, our standard of living, globally speaking, is very high. But our taxes are relatively high, but people are happy to pay them because they get services for them, they get a predictable society. That happiness is really not about money.
No.
That happiness is about predictability and the fact that everything around you works.
Right. What is good about Finland? So for a Kenyan watching and they see you and most of them wonder, is it education? Is it like tourist spots? Is it the people? What's good? What's attractive
Well, the
about
people are great.
Okay.
And they're reliable, they're very honest. That's one thing to put there. They're very punctual, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's the one Finnish thing which you will notice. We are extremely punctual.
Okay.
And that's sort of both a national virtue, but I'd say it's a national vice as well,
Okay.
in a way that we become a bit sort of sometimes rigid on that. But what's going for Finland? Well, a few things.
Okay.
Education, I mentioned. Beautiful architecture, clean air. Did you know that Finland is the country which has produced in the last decades most new pieces of opera, for instance?
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Not Italy.
No, they did it a bit earlier than we did. And with high quality, I'm not denying that.
Right.
But we sort of have continued the tradition, and if you look at the classical music scene, if you go around Finland in summer,
Yeah.
you look at places like Savonlinna, where you have an opera festival,
Yeah.
you go to a chamber music festival in Kuhmo, then you go to a city in western Finland called Naantali, and you have a beautiful music festival there. You jump up to Pori for a jazz festival. I mean, this is all part of what I would say, really come and explore.
Yeah. So for now, let's see. Diplomacy for you. Why? Why did you make that choice?
My answer would be a bit, why not? Because,
Okay.
I mean, I come from a quite, I'd say, colorful family in that side, that I'm coming from a diplomatic family from my father's side. My mother was a politician, retired now, but she was also the daughter of a reindeer farmer.
Oh.
So there were a lot of different options to look at. So having grown up with diplomacy and politics
Right.
around me, diplomacy was sort of a natural
Yes.
choice. But I think even more than that, in that I don't think that I'm a crusader in any way, shape or form, but I have always wanted to have a job where which becomes a lifestyle, which becomes something which I live rather than go to the office in the morning and come back in the evening, but through which I can do good. I've looked at countries with conflict. I'm accredited
Okay.
to Somalia, for instance. From here, I was working with preventive diplomacy in the beginning. I'm more security oriented than anything else, but I've also worked in, if there's a sort of challenge in terms of integration of society, security, state building, conflict resolution. That's where I want to be. And this profession gives you that opportunity.
Yeah. I remember when we first met, you kept saying to me that you enjoy what you do because it gives you the opportunity to serve people. So service. So
Yes.
Yes, you enjoy.
I mean, I'm a civil servant. We who are civil servants in my country, we're programmed to think about our citizens as our bosses, and that we're actually there to provide service to them.
Yes.
And not be somewhere above them.
No.
We are there to bring solutions to people, to ensure that economies go forward.
Right.
We're there to bring stability, fundamentally to see that people do have a better life.
I like that.
And that's better for the world as well, because I mean, that's what brings stability and development into the world.
Yeah. So let me take you back a bit to your years growing up. I heard you say who was a reindeer farmer?
My grandfather from my mother's side.
Your grandfather. Reindeer, like the animal reindeer.
Yes.
I thought it's a wild animal. No?
No, it's actually a very interesting animal in that it is only partially wild.
Oh.
In that yes, it grows in the wild, but it is actually semi-domesticated. So yeah.
So it's both wild and domesticated.
Yes.
Huh. So when you farm reindeers, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, it looks like that you have your own herds of reindeers, you mark them, you know where they are, you follow them, then of course you use them in the end. But that is a part which it's been a long time since I've been to Lapland. But that's where my mother's origins came from.
So when you say use them, you mean like eat, the way we eat beef or chicken?
Well, reindeer meat is extremely good, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Very low fat, very tender, very tasty.
Wow.
Yes.
I learned
And
something
then this
new.
is another thing, of course, which I'm excited about, is when I was growing up in Finland, I don't think that we had, our sort of culinary culture was perhaps not the most developed in the world. You've seen in the last 3-4 decades a sort of mushrooming of great chefs, very pure ingredients, clean food, local food, and so on. So, of course, maybe that part of my family made me particularly sensitive to the quality of food.
Wow. So that also tells me culinary explorations is something you enjoy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I will admit.
Okay, a little bit. I like that. So growing up, what was that like? Are you an only child?
I'm an only child, but I grew up very much in the diplomatic side of the family.
Yes.
So it's,
Okay. So what's your favorite childhood memory?
I mean, I had a fun childhood in that way, that fun, a bit sort of complicated as well, because my parents were divorced. My mother was living in Finland. We had lived in New York together before that. My father was living in Paris. I think that my favorite childhood memories, I can't sort of pinpoint at one, but I would say that was the diversity of my life, in that at a time when people did not travel quite as much as they do now. I mean, the young generation, I look at my own children, they're constantly on the road somewhere, and I never know where they are. But at that time, I was very privileged in that I could change country, I could get to know new cultures, I could sort of delve into new environments.
Yes.
And I think that those are the childhood memories which I would have.
So you have served in different countries.
Absolutely.
Again, I need to admit, when we met, and this kind of shocked you a bit. And I said to you, you said to me, you've served in Moldova. I said, you mean Moldova is a country? Like,
It's very much of a country. And it's actually a country which I'm very impressed, and I'm looking very much at how this country, which had a very complicated history, in that it was occupied by the Soviet Union. It used to be part of Romania earlier. It was occupied by the Soviet Union after the Second World War for a long time, and has tried to sort of build its statehood and establish itself now as a candidate to the European Union, is reforming and modernizing. I have to say that it's in very good hands, because both the president is a very dear friend and the prime minister is one of my closest friends from the time I was there. And you have a fantastically reformist government. You see Russia's attack on Ukraine and so on, it's next to Ukraine, in very difficult geopolitical circumstances.
Right.
So it is, I would say that the challenges this small but very proud country has are bigger than those challenges which many other countries have. And I suppose that that certainly defines it very much as a country.
Yeah. How big is it?
Officially about 4 million inhabitants, but it's also a country which has seen a lot of out-migration. So I would say that you have about 2.5 million probably living on the territory at this moment.
Okay.
And the Moldovans are quite an incredible crowd of people in that when they do move out, you see incredible professionals in all kinds of fields, from highly educated to those sort of doing very practical construction and other jobs and so on. It's I have a very, very soft spot for this country.
Really?
It was my first ambassadorship, and I was ambassador of the European Union there at that time. So
wow. Okay. Earlier on, you spoke about, just wanting, or rather enjoying serving in places that you either have conflict or you have to solve conflict, places that are a bit tough or rough in that way.
Or building, or state building.
Yes. How do you find yourself there?
Well, we are talking about the modern world. You don't get, gone are the days in diplomacy when you actually, somebody called you from personnel and say, oh, well, you're a specialist in Latin America, therefore I will send you to New Zealand,
right.
and so on, which was the earlier jokes about diplomacy. You actually nowadays apply for jobs.
Right, so you deliberately apply to these spots?
I apply for jobs which are interesting, so yes.
What is the attraction to those spaces?
You can affect developments, you can affect people's lives, you can, you come sometimes frustrated home at the end of the day, but you cover countries like Somalia. I'm also going to Eritrea next week because I'm ambassador to Eritrea as well, and so on. You come home at the end of the day and you feel, this day wasn't wasted, actually.
In Africa, where else are you accredited?
Well, I'm accredited from here to Somalia,
Yeah.
which, as I mentioned, is a big, big chunk of my work. We have a very big Somali diaspora, also in Finland. So, we are very closely connected. And for that reason, my foreign minister was just in Somalia 2 weeks ago, something like that. And we had an excellent visit. Then he was in Kenya just before that. But so Somalia, Eritrea, which of course now after the Tigray conflict and so on is very interesting. Uganda, I'm ambassador designate, so I'm still looking forward to going and presenting my credentials to President Museveni.
Yeah.
And the Seychelles, which is another, but also I'm ambassador to Nairobi is one of the capitals of the United Nations system and the only one in the global south.
Yeah.
So I'm also permanent representative to the UN organizations here.
Right. So how do you serve all of them? This is one person, these are all these countries that need your attention.
If you are working with a big number of countries, so you have to put your priorities in order, and you have to have people around you whom you can trust.
Right.
And I have to say the Finnish Foreign Service is, to my mind, one of the best in the world.
Okay.
We have really an excellent team, and they're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, I like that. So let's focus on the country, my country, Kenya.
Yes. A lovely one.
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, I wanted to say, on behalf of the government, then remember, I don't work for the government. So
okay,
anyway.
no, you have a very, very high sort of position in Africa on the Freedom of the Media Index. So, no, I know you don't work for the government.
So, first, when did you come to Kenya?
September, or just the last days of August 2021.
Ah, so this is your second year. This August will be year number 2-year anniversary, right?
Yes.
Right. So what has happened?
Well, 1st of September, I presented my credentials to President Kenyatta on the 1st of September.
Right.
I was very lucky. I only had to wait 2 days.
Finland and Kenya have, 5 decades? Almost 5 decades?
Yes,
or
indeed.
even a bit more, slightly a bit more. 5 decades of relationship. And you came in a year and a half ago. And of course, your predecessors have done a lot to establish and grow that relationship. But where are we now? So since you came, what have you seen happen? What are some of the fruits of your service?
We have seen a very strong transformation from a, let's say, donor, development partner, development relationship to a strong equal partnership, which we are now seeing. And that was very much the focus of my foreign minister's visit. I had my Minister of Economy here earlier. We do still have certain development projects which are very, very important in the field of gender and jobs and skills. So, those are very, very important issues. But I came very clearly with a let's say, regional stability, peace mediation, security focus. And that's part of building, in addition to the economic part, but part of building this partnership which we want to see.
Yeah.
Kenya is an important player. You're a leading democracy in Africa. You're a country which can do so much good. And I really have to say that we admire the role that Kenya has really stepped up, both with President Ruto and with former President Kenyatta now as an envoy in the Tigray crisis. We see you in DRC, South Sudan. I have been very, very impressed by the leadership which President Ruto is at this moment showing on the very, very sad developments which we are seeing in Sudan.
Yeah.
You're a troop contributing country and a major player on Somalia.
Yes.
And this is where we, being a country with a very, very strong tradition of peace mediation. If you look at the security parts of the European Foreign Service, you have a very big number of Finns. But we are, for instance, working on, because gender is very important for us, and gender equality, which is something very close to my heart as well. We are working on issues such as women, peace and security. And we just had a training course, which we did together with the Kenyan Foreign Ministry for Kenyan diplomats, mainly female diplomats, to become peace mediators. We are starting a very exciting work now in building a youth peace and security agenda with the Kenyan government, with CS Namwamba's team, and we are, and the whole idea here is to get a national action plan on youth peace and security. The first national action plan on youth peace and security was in Finland, so we hope that you will be the first one in East Africa. Here at the residence, we had a very good kickoff of that process.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, so I'd say that if these were the kind of things I wanted to be promoting when I came here, and our ambassadors do a sort of plan of action for the term, and mine was very much focused on this partnership. I see that it's bearing fruit, and we're actually working on these issues. That feels good. And of course, we do want to double our economic footprint and our trade relations. There, we're coming from quite low numbers, but I do see that there's a lot of potential.
There's potential for growth. Okay. I like it when an ambassador is able to break down, especially when it comes to food, because some people watching would have no clarity of, okay, so we see ambassadors, what do they do, whatever. So when I hear that, I know, so that's Finland. So my mind can connect to, when I read that, then that must have been Finland involved, etc., etc. But anyway, we need to take a short break.
Absolutely.
Your wife will be joining us after the break.
Very good.
Before she joins us, what do you love about her?
She is, for me, the smartest, most beautiful person I know, and a person who really, I think we're very much alike, very different at the same time. I can't say what absolutely I love about her.
Yeah.
Because I love everything about her. She's brilliant, she's gifted, she's kind, and she's very, very determined, and that you will notice.
Ooh, I love that. And over and above what you said, for me, it's how you said it. Those depth there, those passion, and I can't wait for her to join us right after the break. We join the wife to His Excellency Birka Tapiola, representing Finland here in Kenya, Eritrea, Somalia, Seychelles, and designate to Uganda, and the permanent representative to UNEP and UN Habitat.
Correct.
Yes. His wife joins us. A first on What's Your Story. Let's get to see what this love is about after the break. Welcome back. It's What's Your Story here on KTN Home, rather here at the residence of Finland's ambassador to Kenya, His Excellency Birka Tapiola. As we promised before we took the break, his wife now joins us looking so radiant and elegant.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Welcome.
Olga Tapiola.
Thank you. Welcome to our home.
Thank you. Wow, you're so gracious and your home is beautiful. You were telling me everything in this house is Finn, starting with what you're wearing.
Yes, my dress is from a very beautiful company called Marimekko. It's a Finnish design company.
Yeah.
They produce clothes, they produce things for home design. And I would say that's probably one of my favorite companies in the world because they do say very powerful things
Yes.
in very simple way.
Yeah.
And I think this is for me Finnish elegance. And as I said, indeed, in this home, because it's residence of Finland, it's not only residence of ambassador, it's residence of the country.
Yes.
We have a lot of Finnish design. We have beautiful Finnish glass, we have Finnish lamps, we have Finnish furniture,
Yeah.
carpets. Everything you see,
Yeah.
it is Finnish design.
And I must say this to my audience. So when we came in a bit early, we set up and we were waiting for His Excellency to come as well. We were super early, but he was also very super early. You had in part one, the Finnish people keep time, very punctual.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So what happened is he came to say hello to us, and immediately you stopped getting your makeup done and you came to your husband. You know, we just saw that. Anyone who was watching, I just said, and in fact, I was sitting here with Millicent, the producer, and we said, "Ooh, okay," and you came to him and you're listening to what he's saying, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, we just seen this love in real color." So, so, what is it about your husband that's most attractive for you?
I would say that perhaps what that I admired from the very beginning
Yeah.
is his passion for his work. I always admired how much he invested in his job, how much he was passionate about world affairs. And I think this is something you very hardly meet these days. So for me, he was an admirable man on many levels, but professionally he was a very impressive diplomat. So that's what I started liking. But then, of course, I met him in life, and I fell in love with many other things.
Okay.
And she found out all my downsides as well.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, that too. I like that because then it has to be the whole package, right? You have to love the good and the not so good.
That's true.
Yeah. Talk to us about some of the work you've done around the areas of mental health, counseling, etc. And you're also doing that here. Just touch on that a bit.
First, let me say a few things about being ambassador's spouse, because it
Yes.
is a very important role.
Yes.
And indeed, I'm here to support my husband
Yeah.
and support his job and the country that he represents. Unfortunately, I don't represent his country because I'm of a different nationality, but it doesn't make me love Finland and want to help him present Finland, even less because I'm not Finnish national. At the same time, I would say that spouses of ambassadors, you would be surprised, a very colorful bunch.
Okay.
Because we often have our own professions, and at the same time, while we are traveling around the world and supporting our spouses, we also manage to do something on our own. And I think that it's not only hobbies that we have, but very often it's a lot of volunteering. So I would say that I'm moving now to what I'm doing here because as a wife of ambassador, I cannot work in Kenya as any other foreigner who would come here because I have a certain status which allows me to volunteer.
Yes.
So, for instance, I volunteer as a group counselor and I run a therapy group. At the moment, I don't do it just because I had to take a bit of a break, but I did 2 groups with girls who are victims of domestic and sexual violence. And it's in a shelter, which I will not reveal the location for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it is with people who have been traumatized by life conditions, by life situations, and to help them recover, but also not just recover, but to look forward. So that was part of my job from very early on since I came, and actually in every country where I'm posted, I am trying to work with, volunteer with different groups, depending on the country and also availability of spaces where I can be helpful. In Bangkok, it was with parents of children with special needs. So I have tools that can be useful to different groups. And in Kenya, these are women who are victims of domestic and sexual violence.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have quite a lot of them here.
Yeah. So Ambassador, so your wife also has that heart of service. So you met your match in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I said we won't talk about how you met, though I think it's an interesting story from what we said before we started. But when was your first date and what was it?
Our first date was in Kiev, but we had actually, and it was about 2.5 weeks later from when we had started talking a little bit more on a personal level in Crimea in Ukraine. I had a business trip to Kiev
Right.
from Brussels, where I was working for the European Union at that stage, and I extended it, or I made sure that I didn't go back to Brussels, but flew to Vienna directly from there, just in order to take this wonderful lady out to dinner. But then there was a complication. And the complication was that as she was running a big think tank, she had been asked to brief, and I was not working for Finland, but she had been asked by the Finnish embassy to brief the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Finnish Parliament, which was visiting. So I was sort of basically begging her to find an excuse, send somebody else, and so on. And then what happened was that it was in the hotel where I was staying, so the Finnish ambassador, after she had said no, hijacked me to go and say hi, and tried to get me to do a presentation for them.
Okay.
And I, with some very flimsy excuse, I have to say, not sort of escaped to have dinner. But our first date was almost scuttled.
I it twice.
So the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Finnish Parliament nearly sort of stopped our date
Getting
from
together.
happening.
Yes.
And then I flew to Vienna the next morning, and then you were with a friend of yours in Paris a week later, or 10 days later, and I took the train from Brussels to have dinner with you there, and so on, and then we were calling each other and so on.
All the time, yeah.
But the first date was quite funny, and it has a Finnish political twist to it.
We had to tell ambassador then when I was already leaving Ukraine and joining my husband in Brussels, and Finnish ambassador, because I was joining the Finnish diplomatic family, he made a dinner in our honor, and we had to tell him the truth about
So we
that,
confessed
that I could not come to speak to parliamentarians because I was actually dating my husband, or started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I escaped from his event because she was actually waiting for me near the hotel. So
Oh.
In the car.
in the car.
That is super interesting. Oh, and the people have to know your wife is Ukrainian.
Yes.
What was the first movie you watched together? This is your question, Ambassador.
Your memory is good, so
Oh,
you talk. I only
She
remember my
sometimes
work.
calls me the USB stick, so that I'm to the auxiliary memory, but I actually cannot remember.
Okay.
Maybe I was too focused on her, but
And not the movie.
But if we watched something on a videotape, it would have been a Nora Ephron written rom-com, probably at that stage, when Harry Met Sally or something like that, which would be sort of a classic.
Yeah.
But I actually think we went in Brussels when you were visiting to the movies and saw something with George Clooney, but I can't remember what it was. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll come to you then, Madam Olga. So usually men are the hunters, right? But we all know that women ultimately make the choice. It's the woman who says, yes, I can actually spend my life with this guy. In as much as, it's the guy who chases after the girl. What is it about the ambassador that gave you the confidence that, yes, I'll be happy with him?
I think it's many things. Starting from the fact that we both like books, for instance, and we read a lot. We read different things, but at the same time we can be sitting next to each other and just reading.
Right.
That we like to travel together, that we like to explore the world, that even if I was training to be a diplomat, I didn't become one, but I did follow him on so many exciting countries, and every time we have to adjust to a new country and we are together. So for me, it's probably this combination of many things where we meet. And also all the things I developed through meeting him. For instance, the food, I heard that you were talking about the food. And when we got together, I was not cooking. My family is not very strong on culinary side, but his was. And I always liked him cooking. So for instance, the first few years of our marriage, he was the one who was making amazing dinners for us.
What is the first meal he made you?
Oh, I don't remember the first, but I remember so many. Eggs Benedict, pork with applesauce, chanterelle, some omelette. So I mean, I have a lot of duck. So it was really amazing the first 3 years. But then I fell in love with cooking. So now I am the the chef of the family, though we have a professional chef working for the residents. But now I look at her and I learn. So for me, the whole cooking side, and it was thanks to my husband, because I would probably still eat pizza and pasta. I love it, but he opened a whole new world to me. Music, we also like music, but for instance, opera, the love for opera is from my husband. I'm a ballet person, so for me, that was the side which I like. So I actually learn a lot about the world, about aspects of life through being with him. I
You
think
cook?
it's a treasure box.
Yes, I cook. I love cooking.
What is the glue? I'll start with you first. The glue that keeps this relationship bonded.
I think passion for life, curiosity, passion for the world,
Yeah.
exploring things.
Yeah.
I think Oli asked me once at the beginning of our relationship, what is a good relationship for you? I mean, what's it? And I said, it's a place where you can feel vulnerable and feel sort of not trying to be at your strongest.
Yeah.
And I think that we're both capable of trusting each other in that extent that you can, that we don't need to play or act a role when we're with each other. And I think that that's a good thing. And
Yeah.
life is not always that easy. I mean,
Yeah.
you married a big package, me and 3 stepkids. So
One of them is still living
with us.
but soon leaving.
She
home.
says with the
Yes,
with
yes.
the-
Today I was taking him to school. It's one of his last days of school, of high school, and it was
Exactly.
very emotional for both of us, I think.
I could just sit here looking at both of you, just the energy here, the love. And I love that you've spoken about vulnerability, because a lot of people will fake it just to
Yeah.
be with whomever it is they feel they need to be with. And that brings trouble in the relationships. And yet, at the same time, when you flip that coin, we also know that there's times when you have to solve conflicts. So you've been the conflict guy, you know, when it comes to countries, you know, you want to go there, peace talks, etc. But Madam Olga, how do you deal with conflict in your marriage? If at all it's there.
Of course.
We know how to fight, don't
No,
worry. So
as a psychologist, I'll tell you one thing. Conflict is good.
Okay.
Conflict brings change. It helps you clarify things. And if you do it ecologically, which is not always the case in our case, it's not always the case in people I admire, but conflict is not a bad thing. The question is, of course, the balance of how much conflict you have versus the non-conflict part, and that's important. But we do fight. We are, as
Yes,
my
we do.
husband said, that we are alike in many ways, but we also are very different in many ways. And I think that, but though I don't know, sometimes it's maybe even similarities that
I
bring
think we
conflict.
get more annoyed with each other's similarities, than
Similarities,
the differences,
yes,
frankly.
yes,
But I
yes.
mean, there I agree with you.
But conflict is not a bad thing. And of course, for a relationship, very calm, very peaceful, very smiley, it's not normal. Because we are all human beings, we have feelings, we get upset, we get emotional outside of home, then we bring it all home.
Yeah, but the key would be then, who's always the first to apologize? Is it?
Yes. I'm the
Ambassador.
softie. I'm the well, sorry. Oh, but
So, yeah.
It's too slow to reply to that one. I apologize sometimes as well.
Okay, so we're gonna play a game.
Oh my goodness, should we be worried?
No,
Okay.
no, she's
think
very
we've said it
confident
all.
and
Yeah,
poised.
we've
said it all.
Right, so that's why I have my phone here, because I had to write them down. So there's 2 things. So we'll come first. We'll start with how well do you know your spouse? And I'll start with you,
Okay.
and then go to Madam Olga, and then we'll go step by step. So, Ambassador, Your Excellency, what's your wife's favorite color?
It changes, but I would say orange.
okay.
Is it?
It's one of my many colors. As an artist, of course, as my husband said, I change.
Yeah. He's a painter. As you know.
Yeah.
But orange is one of them, yes.
Yes.
Okay. What's your wife's favorite holiday destination?
Paris.
Yeah.
I
That's a very easy question.
just
it
booked
is.
a trip knowing that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, what's the first thing you found attractive about your wife when you saw her?
Her smile.
Ah, you were smiling, Miss Olga.
And then followed by her incredible sense of style.
Yeah. What's your favorite memory about the two of you to date?
Because there are so many favorites, but I will pick one which probably won't resonate that much. A trip to Hong Kong and sitting with you on the Star Ferry, going across to have dinner on the other side. I mean, that would be probably the one. That would be probably one where I just felt very, very good.
I think for me would be a Chinatown during COVID.
Oh, that's
in
all.
Bangkok, and we were in masks and in gloves, and I needed to buy some flowers, and we were just
Bangkok, China.
in Bangkok, Chinatown, and that was like escaping from home, driving alone through city, and then
During a semi-lockdown.
During semi-lockdown, so it was very cool.
Okay, and I'll come to you, Miss Olga. What's your husband's best quality? Best.
I would probably say that he's very reliable. Probably reliable would be the word, stable and reliable.
I like that. Oh, you got good qualities, Ambassador. What strengths does your husband bring to the relationship?
He is always there. He's always there.
Presence.
Even if he's present, even when he travels, it's very difficult to reach me. You know, so.
Yeah, but as a woman, that really must feel very safe. Like you're not questioning, you're not doubting because you know.
Yes, I do.
If your husband wasn't a diplomat, what would he be doing?
He would be a chef, a Michelin star chef in a restaurant somewhere, maybe in Helsinki, maybe even in Paris. I don't know.
I don't think I'm that good of a cook. My other alternative was to become but you're close in the hospitality. I could have gone into the hospitality business, into hotel management or something like that. That could have been something I could have done, but that's it.
I don't mind that.
Who is more spontaneous? Ambassador, why did that take long?
Yes, I was actually wondering, because I can be spontaneous as well.
Yes,
But no, I
But
think it's
more
you.
is you.
I think it's you. I think it's you.
I don't know
Who
the
spends
meaning.
money more?
I
then-
do because
no,
I have
then
more
it's me, then
time.
it's me, no, then it's me,
No,
then
it's
it's
me
me.
because
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
more
yeah.
time
Yeah.
to spend it actually. So no, it's me. Definitely me.
They both are. Who is more of a risk taker? Oh. Okay. Who is the better dancer?
That's the easy one.
Okay. Who has a better sense of humor? Yes. Who is a better driver? Oh.
Absolutely.
Who is the eternal optimist?
What is this? What is
Me,
this?
me.
You were okay because I thought you were pointing at me,
No,
but
no,
kind
me.
of shyly.
So you both are.
Yeah, we're both
Yes,
optimists.
Who is more inclined to be jealous?
And I'm not afraid to say it.
Who said I love you first?
Yes.
Wow, at least finally she points at you. Finally. Finally she points
I
at
did,
you.
I did.
Okay, that's nice. Your Excellency, what's the best advice your wife has ever given you?
To stop stressing. She gives me that advice regularly.
Okay. Okay.
Because I do have this bad habit that I'm a bit of a mother hen, father goose type of character who is always worried that is that done, and so on. And
Yeah.
she is trying to give me a very good piece of advice. Stop it. So it's it.
When you met your Excellency, were you looking to get married, settle down, or you're just career woman?
I think that we were both at a time in our life when we both were more mature than usually when people get married. So we probably thought through the issue of being together a bit more. But I was a very serious girl, so I told him
Oh, yeah.
that, if you don't have very serious intentions, then it's better not to
Waste
engage
my
with
time.
me.
Yeah.
Yes, and he was serious, so.
Yeah.
I got the message.
Yes, but
That was
but
it.
but it was quite easy somehow. We started talking, as my husband said. We started talking at an event where we were both just professionals, and we were talking about work and then life,
Yeah.
and somehow it clicked.
Some of your family traditions that you hold dear.
Big traditions are very much around getting us together in all strange parts of the world. The big sort of family tradition is that we try to be the glue, bringing people together. It's not always around our table. It can be around my mother's table. It can be
Yeah.
a son. But we somehow are there trying to make it happen.
So she spoke about you being reliable, dependable, and present as, you know, three of her top strongest qualities about you. So the same question to you. What are your three strongest qualities about her?
Kind and very caring, and that goes as one quality. I will say very loyal. As a friend, very, very loyal. Even if we argue at times and we have fights and so on, I know I always know that I can trust her.
Yeah.
And the third is indeed the best friend I have in that we can talk about anything. We can talk from politics to psychology to life to art to music to what will we do over the weekend. We can go and walk around a steamingly hot town somewhere in the tropics, completely sweating, and we can go for a long walk in the winter when it's -17 and still sort of enjoy it.
And hearing that makes you feel what?
Well, it feels like we still have a long road ahead.
Yeah.
That we still have a lot to get to know about each other. And I think this is in every relationship. You will see that when you meet, you show one side of you, and then it grows, and then the more time you spend, and of course for diplomats and diplomatic families, everything is more extreme than for families who stay back home. I would actually say that I'm extremely grateful to Kenya for a very warm welcome, and this is not the diplomat in me speaking, because if he would say it, perhaps it would be a diplomatic thing. But I do think that in every country that we come, we fall in love in certain things, and in Kenya there is a lot to fall in love with. Which may not be available in other countries. And I would say that when people meet us as diplomats or diplomatic couples, very often they see a very beautiful facade.
Yeah.
And sometimes they take us this kind of 2D facade, His Excellency, Madame. And I would say that what I would like people to know in Kenya, that diplomats are also humans. They also have feelings, they also have experiences that they like, they don't like, but they are alive. And I think that we were trying today to show a little bit more of ourselves, aside from political talk about cooperation, which is very important because, of course, my husband is here to have this relationship, but also how much it matters when people on the ground see humans in us and also get interested in us. Like today, the questions you asked, they were very fascinating. And I'm sure we will talk about that in the evening over dinner. The interest you had, because there is a lot for diplomats, for spouses to learn in the country where they are, but they also have a lot to share. So thank you so much for this beautiful day we spent together and for the interest that you had. And I hope that when people meet us next time, it will not be just the formal names and the formal gowns, but it will be something heart to heart that we can see in each other. I think we come as a couple.
Okay. They come as a package.
As a package, yes.
We have to say goodbye, but I'm so grateful. Thank you for welcoming us to your home and for having this honest and vulnerable conversation. Thank you for watching. The show goes up on YouTube after this with a repeat this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. For now, I thank you so much for giving us your time and to my guests for giving us their time. And I hope it has been a worthwhile experience for you watching. And till next week, we say ciao.